From MTN, the Montana Television Network, this is Face the State.
And good morning and welcome to Face the State here on the Montana Television Network. We hope you're staying warm on this weekend that we have bitter cold temperatures across Montana, as we're going to warm things up on the inside this Sunday. And we're chatting this morning with Sarah Hudson, who is with the Veterans Business Outreach Center, the director of the Region 8 VBOC, as they call it here in Billings. Sarah, thanks for joining us this morning. We'll hear more from you and all about this new exciting facility that we have for veterans across a 6-state area, excuse me. Brian Clemens is with us as well, sitting in the middle this morning. Brian is the project manager in Region 8, a retired Army First Sergeant in the Army. Thank you very much, Brian. We'll hear more from him in a second. And last but certainly not least, the tall drink of water on the end of the desk, Mike Waters, our project support specialist, retired Air Force with us, native of Ritchie. We'll hear more from all three of them as our program gets going. Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself as the director of the Veterans Business Outreach Center here with the Big Sky Economic Development facility here in Billings. Tell us about this. People are probably hearing about this. I remember when you got the big grant from kick this off, a 3-year, $1 million grant. Now it's actually the money is the rubber's hitting the road, so to speak.
That's right, yes. Big Sky Economic Development was a natural fit for SBA's program for the Veterans Business Outreach Center, and I've been with Big Sky Economic Development for about 7 years. It's a good fit for us because we understand that veterans really are significant economic drivers for our economic growth, and we just put our arms around them and want to help them, support them to learn how to run a small business. And so I've been doing that for a while, 25 years working with small businesses in various capacities, but in the last 7 years with Big Sky Economic Development.
This opportunity came about through a grant. Tell us about how this all happened, because how many of these outreach centers are there across the country?
We are one of 20.
So it's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and 7 have just been added in the last year. So when we competed, we were one of 12.
And your region, again, covers 6 states.
6 states.
And a huge chunk of humanity, 11 million people.
Yes, and about 865,000 vets, 11 million people, 11 military installations. And yes, we've got a large area to cover.
Brian, tell me a little bit about the theory behind these outreach centers, because this is really gauged towards veterans who are transitioning out of the military, trying to find their next niche in life, really.
Yes, when you're transitioning out of the military, there's just a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts going on in your mind, and a lot of us are very dedicated to our mission, and we're very dedicated to the jobs that we do. So it's a natural fit to want to be an entrepreneur. And this program, as a veteran myself, has helped me to go into the communities and relate with my fellow veterans and kind of help them work through this process and let them know that there is a program out there to assist them in transitioning to become an entrepreneur.
Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a 26-year Army vet, retired First Sergeant. My wife and I are currently a small business owner. We have been for 20 years. This program did not exist when I transitioned out of the military, so it was a challenge for us. So now that I know how this program works, it's good to give back to my soldiers. I call it paying it forward to my troops.
And how did you get contacted with this new opportunity here in Billings?
Well, it was a very strenuous interview.
One of those.
It was 4 trips to Billings and interviewing with Sarah and with Steve Iverskow with the Big Sky Economic Development, and it was a very intense interview to see if I would be a fit for this program.
And you say you're recently in the Casper area?
Yes, in the Casper area, and I satellite out of Casper, so I can serve our clients down in the Colorado, the Wyoming area.
Well, Brian, thanks for joining us. Mike Waters, last but not least on the end, tell us a little bit how you ended up from Ritchie, Air Force. You were a fighter pilot or a B-1 bomber pilot?
I was a B-1 bomber pilot. As you said, I'm a native of Ritchie, Montana. Went to Montana State University through the ROTC program. Had a 22-year Air Force career as a B-1 pilot, a couple of combat tours, one with missions over Afghanistan. Then I started making my way back. I retired, was in Colorado for a little while, doing a little business development work and some contract instructing in aviation safety. But I finally was able to get back to the home state and join the Veterans Business Outreach Center team. And I'm excited to be a part of it and to try to, as Brian said, we want to help veterans find that next step for them. And a lot of them have what it takes to be business owners, and they're just looking for the resources and the way forward to get that going, and we want to help them do that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. We were talking prior to starting our program today just about the skill set that people come out of the military with. It's almost like they've been destined to go into small business.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Absolutely, and we've found, the research shows that veterans are 45% more likely than those without military experience to be self-employed. And they look at, is it the mission focus, is it the resourcefulness, the resilience, the discipline? I think that it's all of those things that it really does. They come to the table with this competitive advantage that folks without military experience just don't have.
Well, we've mentioned 6 states, Montana, North and South Dakota, along with Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah. And that's such a wide area, but I imagine the challenges facing veterans are pretty much universal no matter what state you're in, right?
Yes, sir, they are. That is a challenge for every veteran. Some don't even know they want to be business owners, but they'll come to our classes, our Boots to Business or our Reboot classes, and it'll spark that little fire inside of them. And we're there to help them move that process. Being in partnership with Big Sky Economic Development, it's a natural fit for us to bring these soldiers in. We speak their language. We understand some of the hardships they're facing, and we have a good team to work them through that process.
For example, we had just recently here in Billings a Yellow Ribbon event where our 219th Red Horse Squadron had returned from Qatar. And I had asked them when we were doing a short training, how many of you have ever thought about owning your own business or being self-employed? And it was unanimous. Everyone raised their hand. So they hadn't necessarily thought of that for themselves to say, this is what I'm going to do when I transition back home, but every one of them had thought about doing that.
So Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say sometimes it's just a conversation. I'm fairly recently back here in Billings, but even in the building where we work, you'll run into somebody and they find out who you are and what you're doing, and they'll say, well, yeah, I was in the Navy or I was in the Army, and you know, I was thinking about my own business, and it just gives us the opportunity to plug them in to get them the resources they need to see if what they're thinking can turn into their next career.
Yes.
When you were piloting those B-1 bombers, were you thinking, someday I'm going to start my own, I mean, seriously, you might have been.
You know, no.
Probably focused on the task at hand.
I was a bit focused at the task at hand, and you know, it was a great career, and but at the end of the day, you want to settle somewhere and do things. And for me, I do have a heart for veterans, as Brian has said, and you want to be able to be in a position to not only have a job but do something that you feel is making a difference. And I think what we do can make a difference with these folks.
And I think one of the things too that Mike hit on is that you're not thinking of this when you're in the military. You are attending to your military duties, and you only really know what command is pushing down through the ranks. You're insulated. So it makes sense then when they are transitioning out, they don't know about VBOC, but they also don't know about the Small Business Administration and the Small Business Development Centers and the Chambers of Commerce and the Economic Development Organizations. All of these resources that veterans have available to them in almost every community in the United States, but they're not aware of it. So that's one of the things that we're able to do, is bring this program to them where they are and let them know it's not just the VBOC. We can hook you up with our host agency and all of our other partners.
You said there's 11 military installations across these 6 states that you serve. So
yes.
Does that mean you're traveling then, Brian, to these installations and conducting these workshops?
I retired out of Fort Carson in Colorado Springs. So that puts me right in the heart of our major clientele base. So it works great. Familiar with the area, familiar with the people that are in charge of the areas down there. So it is nice, and yes, I do get a lot of travel, but it's fun because I get to go back and be with the troops. And that's always, as a soldier, that is a good feeling.
So when you go and set one of these workshops up, a Boots to Business, kind of walk us through it as a veteran comes in. What will they encounter?
Well, the process starts with them. They'll register with us online, or for the program, for the Veterans Business Outreach Program or the Boots to Business program. They'll register online, or their command as they're transitioning. It's called the Transition Assistance Program, and we're part of that program. So you could say we have a captive audience. It doesn't always work that way. But as they process out of the service, we're part of the programs that they're introduced to. And as Sarah said, a lot of them, we just don't know these services exist.
Right.
So it's really easy for a veteran to talk to veterans and kind of help them over that little hump of, oh, I could never do that. I went into my first small business kicking and screaming. My wife drugged me the whole way.
She's a veteran as well.
So, you know, after that first one, now it's an adrenaline drive that keeps me going. Still today, I enjoy giving back to my veterans because not only does this program help them, it is helping me to be a smart small business owner. So there is a benefit to it.
We talk about the word entrepreneurial or entrepreneurship or whatever. What does that mean to you?
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because in one of the slides that we have is our standardized curricula. They do grab a number of definitions that they've pulled out of business management literature, but to me it's being able to manage risk and assume risk of a business. It's all about risk, mitigating that risk, and we want to be able to shine that light in front of you to make decisions one after another, you know, take that step to decide is it a go or a no-go for each step, go or no go. And so no matter which step they take, they are successful at the end of the day because they are either moving forward to take less risk that they're comfortable with. So managing risk of a business is entrepreneurship to me.
Right. There's a lot that goes into this, Mike. I mean, they need some help developing a business plan. They need some financial wherewithal, and I think you kind of just walk them through it and spell it out what happens.
Right, and the good news about what we try to do is make sure we listen to them and what they want and what they need, and then tailor what resource partner we may direct them to what individual need they might have. The good news about the military is there's steps that they might need to take with a business plan or financing and things like that, but we feel like beneath it all, there's values they pick up in the military along the way: perseverance, resiliency, the ability to take on risk, and perseverance. All of those, starting a business is not easy, and if you don't have those, even if you do have the financing or a business plan, it may not succeed.
So Jay, what we'll do is we'll walk them through 8 different modules, and it is like a 30,000-foot view of what entrepreneurship is. So we'll start out with a basic introduction of what is this, and then we introduce them to how do you recognize an opportunity, a market opportunity. By identifying a problem, there's something in the market that's not being met, and you'll find this with a lot of military folks. They'll think, wouldn't it be great if, and that's the next thing.
Right.
That's the next red ox, for example. And then we'll talk about markets and their competitive space and helping them understand the entire value chain from their suppliers all the way through their distributors and their packaging and getting their product into the hands of folks. We then tell them about the economics of small business, how they need to look at their fixed costs and variable costs and their volumes and their margins. And then we talk to them a little bit about the different legal structures they could have. Do they want to be a sole proprietor, a limited liability company, an S corporation? And then we go over just resources for you and business planning. And in doing that, because there's just 3 of us serving a 6-state region, we mobilize local communities. We pull in, you know, the experts in the business community, the Small Business Development Center, business advisors, the PTACs, the WBCs, the Women's Business Centers, and those. And because we want to be able to show each veteran that this community that we're in supports you with all of these resources. So it really is mobilizing a community's assets, every community in the state of Montana and our other states.
So many things that you really don't think about when you think, I've got a great idea for business.
Yes.
And then they say, what about your business plan?
Yes.
How are you going to market it? So you're scaring people away. Maybe. But,
Right.
Brian, what was your experience going into small business with you and your wife?
Frightening.
Is that right? Yeah,
Frightening.
it sounds that way.
It was frightening. You know, we started the way a lot of people do, savings and maxed out credit cards. And, you know, that is just not the way to do it. In this program, we're helping soldiers to understand there is other ways to start a small business other than putting yourself deeper in debt. And that is the biggest benefit of this program. They don't have such a nervous feeling when it comes to starting a business because we're there for them. Our services are free.
Yeah.
That was one of the big things. All of this we're talking about is free. If you're just joining us here on Face the State, we're talking about the Region 8 Veterans Business Outreach Center, known as the VBOC in the acronym world. This just opening in the past few months here in Billings at the Big Sky Economic Development Facility in downtown Billings. Sarah Hudson, the director of the program, is here with us, along with Brian Clemens, the project manager, and Mike Waters. We're telling you all you need to know about this morning. And by the way, you can go to bigsky-economic-development.org and look under the small business tab, and you'll find out some more information, and we'll be throwing up the phone number throughout the program so you can write that down and call them during the regular business hours to tap into it. So tell me about, I'm going to walk in and run into you, Mike, and I say, I'm interested in this boots to business. How do you kind of acclimate me to what I'm about to encounter?
Well, we want to make sure that you get checked in, and as Brian said, we basically get you signed up for the services, and then we're going to find out where you're at. Are you a transitioning military member? Are you a veteran? Where are you located? And then we're gonna listen to what it is that you want to do and what you're thinking. And from there, you know, Sarah, as we said, can help connect with the right resource partner for the right program to wherever they're at. We try to make this as individually based as we can, because every veteran's in a different spot, and we want to make sure that they get the right services for them.
And as we said, this is free. How is it free?
How is it free? By our well, they've already paid for it through their taxes, right?
Okay.
But we are supported by the SBA, $1 million cooperative agreement. And so everything that we do, we are able to do without cost to the Yellowstone County taxpayers. And we do not provide a match for that. And so we're able to do that because the taxpayers have already paid for this, the veterans have already paid for this, and we're able to do that for them.
Now this is part, as we mentioned, it's housed in the Big Sky Economic Development Facility in downtown Billings, and we were talking with Steve Arviska,
Yes.
your executive director, who was saying when they first looked at it, it was like, well, does this fit into their mission and their niche here in Billings? And he said it absolutely does. Just explain a little bit.
Well, we really are about cultivating entrepreneurship. I mean, we understand that small business is the lifeblood of our local communities. They generate about 80%, you know, of our tax base, and they employ our people. And we were able to really put our arms around veteran entrepreneurship, not just because our executive director is the son of a sailor and has had that, you know, we are laugh about that. So he has experienced firsthand the sacrifices that a military community makes, and he has that heart for veterans. But we also understand the statistics as well, you know, that veterans veteran small business owners are employing 6 million Americans. They're generating $1 trillion in receipts. They're producing almost $2 trillion in gross domestic product, and they're paying $210 billion in wages.
Amazing statistics.
And so that's, and think of that, the multiplier effect of those dollars spent in local communities. And so it aligns perfectly with Big Sky Economic Development's mission. And being able to go and find these folks, that's been our really, the gap that we've been able to fill that other economic development agencies perhaps weren't able to yet. We were able to identify that gap, that our services that we already have, which are very robust at Big Sky Economic Development, we weren't carrying them to the military installations and the National Guard headquarters and the Yellow Ribbon events, and so we're filling that gap.
And Steve was saying, with Big Sky Economic Development focused on Yellowstone County, was like, well, this is 6 states.
Yes.
This is a big thing to chew here.
It is.
But again, tapping into this entrepreneurial spirit and supporting the military that's so important for this part of the country.
Well, and it really is. SBA was looking at the state of Montana in particular because we're second in the nation in terms of veterans per capita. But we also have the highest rates of transitioning service members in the Transition Assistance Program for entrepreneurship. So they were looking at us wondering, what is it that you're doing so well that we can replicate?
I see.
So, and not only that, taking this program and putting it in the middle of Big Sky Economic Development, where we have the top small business development director in the state, Dina Johnson, the top performing SBA 504 lender, Brandon Berger, the person who runs all the procurement technical assistance centers in the state of Montana, Deanna Langman. And so it was just a perfect fit. We are a microcosm of entrepreneurial development support services to grow our economy.
One of the statistics that jumped out at me when I was looking through some of the materials that, and you didn't mention it, but 1 out of 10 small businesses are owned by veterans. And that was before they had these business outreach centers. That statistic,
And
just shows you kind of their natural migration to small business.
Yes.
Right.
yes.
And that's about, a little more than 3.5 million in the nation and about 12,000 in Montana.
And I asked this question because we're so much focus on the military and veterans now with all the many wars that we're fighting. But I said, how far back does this go? You said any veteran really can be
yes.
eligible for this.
Absolutely, any veteran and any family member of a veteran, and then those transitionings as well. I am not going to, nor will my staff, kick somebody out of a reboot training. If
Right.
We want to reach everybody, but we want to put our arms around the veterans and let them know all of those resources that are available to them in the community, and it's not just VBOC. We have a number of
You said
resources.
you had
for them.
a Vietnam vet in one of your...
Yes,
Yes.
we had an 86-year-old Vietnam vet, yes.
A very spunky guy.
Yes.
Well, especially with the December 7th just recently passed, and a lot of us thinking about our nation's military certainly puts more focus on this. And
Yes.
we know how important the military is here in Montana, and as you were saying, across these 6 states, 11 military installations. It's huge, the economic driver
Yes.
that is.
It is an incredible economic driver, but I also believe that, there are 20 of us nationwide, but there's something very unique about our region insofar as, I don't know if it's just the culture, if it's I'm a 4th generation Montanan, and even though I didn't serve in the military, I was raised to understand that I am free because of what my military has done for me. And we just have that open embracement of our military community. We understand fundamentally how important they are to our way of life. And I see that in every state in our region. And it's a little bit different across the nation. And I'm not saying that they're less inclined, but it's something that I know that I was raised with. They make it a point that we support our military family.
So Brian and Mike, veterans are notoriously independent.
Yes.
How do you, and they don't like to ask for help, I don't think. And maybe that's my own vision, but they're a proud individual. So this you kind of have to hold their hand and say, no, we're here to help you. And are they reluctant to ask for help?
Well, once they do come into these programs, our Boots to Business, our reboots, it's a very relaxed atmosphere that we present to them. And being veterans and talking, with these veterans, they relate to us, we relate to them. That is a big advantage in this program, that Mike and I can bring such experience through our military, now our small business ownership. It's an experience we can bring to them that they have a lot of questions outside of our 8 modules that we teach them in these Boots to Business, that we're able to relate our experiences to them. So it is a big benefit for them. And it does help take the stress out of it.
Absolutely. Mike, your experience is the same?
It is, and once you get that conversation going, they may not think they have any help available, or that I just need to get a job or something like that. But knowing that there's resources available, they might be willing to take that risk that Sarah's talking about and say, maybe I can do this, do something more. And like my own story, I hope that there's Montanans serving out there that they do want to come home and be back in Montana and do something, and this might give them the chance to contribute to our economy and continue driving success here in Montana.
But given the weather this week, we're wondering why anyone would want to come back here after leaving. A warm weather climate might be nice.
Yes.
What have we not covered that we should this morning? One thing I was going to mention, just how results oriented. I know it's a government
absolutely.
program, so
Yes.
how are you measured? How will you know if you're successful? And I know that the government will be in checking that out. They want results.
They do want results, and more than anything, they're wanting to make sure that we are meeting the transitioning members where they are. So for now, we're being counted on our participation in the Boots to Business curricula that we are teaching on the 11 military installations. So those numbers. But then we also take that same curricula, we call it Reboot, we bring it into other communities, and we grab the folks who have already transitioned out. So those numbers. Then we do our one-to-one counseling. We'll do counseling over the phone. We'll refer to somebody in their local community. We're counted on those numbers. We do outreach. We'll go to the Yellow Ribbon events. We'll go to the National Guard headquarters. We'll meet with the adjutants general, and we will talk with folks, and we count all of that partnership and outreach. So that's how we're measured now. And hopefully we're able to make that impact. We do have surveys where we'll ask them, are you more inclined to start a business now? and we're developing those metrics as well. So it is an evolving program. It is important to the SBA that we are impactful. So we look at contracting, we look at capital, and we look at those numbers on whether we were able to hook them in with their access to capital if they needed that, and then if they were able to land a contract as well for federal contract.
And you two will know if you're successful by how fulfilled you are by the people you're helping,
right.
and you'll know that firsthand right away.
Yes.
And you will be following up with those folks, and I think it's probably even going to become almost a personal thing, right?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it does.
it does.
It really makes you feel you're successful in your program when people call you and say, hey, I just had a small question. And we always have time to address those questions. That is our job. And that is a big plus to them. They can pick up the phone, I can call the director, I can call Brian, I can call Mike, and they will get a response. And if I can't answer your question, I will go down to Big Sky Economic Development. I'll find the specialist that can answer their question. And they like that handoff.
There's so much focus in the United States these days on the veterans, as we mentioned, and as they come out of the military and that transition back to private life, it's so difficult. And those people like myself who've never been in those shoes, it's hard for us to understand, but I think we can imagine just how much different things are from the structured life in the military. All of a sudden, you're out fending for yourself, so to speak, Mike.
You know, I think that's a great point. And one of the things, if they decide to become a business owner or entrepreneur, they can cultivate the culture of camaraderie in whatever business they want to bring. So it gives them that opportunity to foster the kind of environment that maybe made them successful in the military, and then along the way employ people, provide a product or service to whatever state they're in, and help maybe other veterans out get those jobs and make a successful transition.
One of the things that I wasn't counting on, but then I realized that what makes us very unique is that I'm able to interface with the bureaucrats. I've been a bureaucrat for a very long time. This is a senior enlisted veteran, and Mike will not say it, but he is a retired lieutenant colonel, and this makes a difference. The military community has its own culture and norms, and it doesn't work so well to have Mike train on the ground with the transitioning members, but it helps to have him interface with the command who is driving the desire down.
Right.
And when I need to reach these individuals on the ground, I send in Brian, and he is able to meet with them one-on-one, help them understand.
Send in the infantry,
I
right?
send in, I'd say, soldier, take that hill, and he goes and he takes that hill.
Well, a wide-ranging discussion. Sounds like an awesome program. I hope the veterans take advantage of it, and that's one reason we had you on. And we're saying one of the keys is the veterans don't know about this.
That's right. And we're really moving out into Montana now. So January 5th, we're going to be at MSU Bozeman doing a one-day reboot on January 5th. I just said that, excuse me. January 13, we'll be in Helena at Carroll College. And January 20, we're going to be at UM in Missoula.
Awesome. And again, BigSkyEconomicDevelopment.org is the website. Just click on the small business tab, and the phone number that we've been flashing up, if you had a chance to jot it down, is 869-8411. 869-8411. Sarah, 20 seconds left. Your final thoughts?
We love our
nervous.
vets.
You did awesome. Sarah was very nervous about coming on, and you just did awesome. I told you we were going to knock it out of the park. Brian and Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service to our country and the service to the veterans. And we're hoping more and more take advantage of this great opportunity at the Veterans Business Outreach Centers. Thank you so much for joining us here on Face the State. Stay warm this weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You've been watching Face the State, a presentation of MTN, the Montana Television Network.